What is up, everybody? Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Coffee and Crypto Live. It is me, TA Tim. Jebb is out today at a family gathering for a lost loved one, so prayers are with him and his family, but we're still gonna have a great show today. I'm super excited to talk about today. It's gonna be a little different. Normally we do a lot of TA, and you would think with Tim hosting the show and his name being TA Tim, that would mean more TA, but no, it does not. Actually, today is less TA. So if you don't like that, you can hit the like button. And if you do like that, you can hit the like button. Either way, though, as the comments in the title confirmed, today we're talking about anticipation of what happens from that Fed announcement. Most of you guys know that today they're beginning their meeting that will finish up tomorrow around 2:30, and they're discussing what that future looks like about interest rates. We're gonna be talking about that because some analysts believe if it is super hawkish, we could see Bitcoin crash down to 30,000. We're gonna talk about that and a lot more. Some other stories we're going to cover is we have something coming out of some news coming from Tesla and talking about remarks that Warren Buffett made. We talked about that a little bit yesterday, but Elon has come out making more statements on there. We're going to talk about Elon a little bit. We're going to be talking about a letter that was written to Congress about Bitcoin mining. And if we have time, we're also going to talk about Algorand's partnership with FIFA World Cup. This is all going to be amazing stuff, but I first want to make sure you guys know everybody who's here. I am joined today by three different people. The first is one of your guys' favorites, the Turtle King himself, Smay. How you doing today, Smay?
I'm doing lovely. So now I'm gonna, and when I'm lovely, I like to read green names, so I'm gonna do that. Here we got Crypto Alchemist, Matt C, Terran Crypto, Christopher Malvo, Tom Wilkes, Adam Rourke, Dennis Pizarka, Groovy. Oh my gosh, all of you guys, Sultan of Salt, Siobhan Golay, Philly fan 61. I love all of you guys.
Yeah.
Back to you, Tim.
Thanks, man. Well, now we got sitting in Jebb's seat, we have T Shroom joining the show today. I'm excited to have him back on. How are you doing today, T Shroom?
Better than I deserve.
Why is that so funny?
I don't. It's just because the look in his eyes was so intense. It really made me laugh.
In case you guys wondered, there's a very special relationship between Smay and T Shroom.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Special people there. We're also joined from Kelly Colomb up in New York City. Kelly, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing excellent. You know, we might not be spending a lot of time on TA, but we're talking about a lot of stuff that affects it. So definitely stay tuned throughout the whole show. We got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, just in case you guys are wondering why we're so big on TA is because it really helps us make predictions and expectations about what's happening next. Well, the other thing about that is major news stories. And for us to be looking at TA, we got to make sure those news stories operate the way we expect them to operate. So real quick, we can go to my chart. We're not going to do a coin market recap today. We're going to jump in the chart, just a couple of things about Bitcoin before we move into our discussion on the Fed, because that is probably what is most important. As you guys look at my chart, I have two different lines here. These are the lines that a lot of bears are looking at. Again, I'm more looking at this 32 level, but you do have to keep aware that 24,200 is in the cards. If you're wondering why that is, because you haven't seen the show recently, this right here, don't pay attention to this yellow mark just for the moment. I'll talk about that here in a second. Look at these red lines. If this is a bear flag, which it definitely does look like a bear flag, and it played out, this is what would bring us back down to 24,000. Now, I've said this before, I'll say it again. I still think there are so many strong fundamentals that are bullish for Bitcoin that would keep us from going this far, but you do have to be aware this is a potential, especially if traders are looking at it this way, it might put some pressure to go down that far. Again, I don't think it's going to happen, but I'm prepared for it. The other option right here, which I do think is actually pretty realistic, this $32,100 level, or I guess it's close enough, we'll call it 200, that comes from the fact that let's avoid this peak right here. Let's just talk about the channel that we've been in. And I'm looking at the candle closes to create this channel. So this channel right here, if I were to measure from top to bottom the width of this channel and then project based off our breaking point, this is what gives me the price action of 32,000, almost 200, but we'll call it 100. That is the levels we're looking at from a technical analysis standpoint. Then this yellow line comes in because Kelly actually is the one that pointed this out. But these wicks right here, again, I haven't been giving those wicks enough significance, but technically speaking, where we just found resistance, and I can zoom in for you just so you can see it nice and clearly, is actually in line with the relationship between these two wicks right here. So could this potentially be a nice little bouncing point? I'll tell you right now, if the Fed news ends up becoming dovish, meaning it's not really that severe, then potentially this holds and we could see a rally back up, potentially either resisting on this former support now turn resistance, or maybe even getting back up into the channel. But if we cannot hold, again, the levels we're looking at is maybe even matching these wicks, watching 34,000, because that's the bottom of this wick right here, and then watching 33,000, and then 32,000 is what you're probably going to want to do if you're looking at the charts. But that's enough TA for today, at least for me. I think that T-Shroom and Kelly both have some things they want to show you on the charts, but it all has to do in the relationship with what we see coming out of the Fed. So the first story, and I'm not going to go through the whole article, but I'm sure a lot of you have seen articles similar to this. I just chose one just to put it up here so you guys can see it. Bitcoin's in Fed's hands. Moment downside could target the $30,000 region. A lot of people are speculating, especially with this news coming out, that the Fed is discussing a rate hike of 75 basis points, that potentially, if this hawkish news comes out, we could see all the way down to 30,000 happen. Now, you can go off my screen real quick, Smay, because I want to just stop. Before we dive even deeper into the story, I want to go in a little deeper about remembering where we have come from. Because those of you who have been following, and a lot of you who are watching today, I mean, crypto is kind of a dead space right now, especially on YouTube. People watching YouTube on crypto are investors. They're doing their research. They are in this day in and day out. So, remember back in January where the conversation was, well, inflation's looking bad, but we don't really know how bad it is, but the Fed has continuously just kicked the can down the road. They're probably just going to keep kicking the can down the road because they want to be supported. They don't want to crash anyone's parade, right? That was January. Fast forward to February. We got terrible reports. Like, all right, they're going to be raising it by 25 basis points. 25 basis points is coming. Be prepared. It's not going to be that bad. This is okay. It'll last for a little bit, but they might even still kick the can down the road. Then we had the war in Ukraine happen. This put a lot of pressure, not only because we have inflation coming in, but of course that war caused a lot of further downside to our economy. So now in March, we fast forward to March, now we are talking about, 25 is absolutely guaranteed. That is coming. The question is, will at some point this year, will we see a 50 basis point increase? That was our concern. Back in March, when we thought the word hawkish, we were saying 50 basis points down the road. Fast forward to April, it got even worse. Now we're saying, okay, 50 basis points isn't coming down the road. 50 basis points is coming next month. Now that's considered hawkish. Maybe if the can gets keep getting kicked and we want to go a little dovish, they'll stay at 25 for another month. But we know more than likely 50 basis points is coming. Fast forward to last week, 75 basis points gets put on the table and the game is changing. Today, a report came out that there are betting, and I want to throw it to Kelly for this because he's the one that found this, but I'm going to show you guys. You can go back to my chart right here. According to, what is this called? CME betting, 99% are betting that a 75 basis point or higher is going to come out of the Fed. Kelly, I'm going to throw it to you on this because, again, like I just said, this is crazy, the transition of what we've called these different things. At this point, we are almost hoping for a 50 basis point, or are we hoping for 75? It depends on what your view is. But hawkish would be 75, dovish would be 50. This is crazy. What is this chart telling us, Kelly, and what should we do with this information?
Well, I mean, you said it very, very beautifully, leading up into the story, and that's, the perception about what's needed for the market, what the Fed's going to do in regards to interest rates over the last 4 months has changed dramatically, right? So of course the inflation numbers are completely out of the park. They have to do something, but we're also going into a midterm election year, and they don't want inflation to be completely off the rails going into that. But they also don't want unemployment numbers now down, and they don't want the markets to crash. So there's this jockeying of exactly what they're going to do to pull things in line while also not being detrimental to the economy. Because on the flip side of that, we have the Dixie at 21-year highs right now. But as much as it's bad with what's happening with inflation, the Dixie being so high, the value of the dollar as compared to other world currencies and the basket of other currencies that the Dixie is weighed against, it actually in some ways benefits, for instance, like importing goods and things like that, because the strength of our dollar is a lot higher. So there is some give and take there. But in this case with the CME, this story here, as little as about a week ago, the large majority of people were placing their investments and in a sense bets, but I'll call it investments, showing that the majority of the market was pricing in and investing in towards most likely 50 basis points hike. And then we had the GDP numbers come in and showed us that we weren't a 1% increase. We're actually a minus 1.4% decrease. showing that there's a drawdown in the economy. The market's pulling back. If we have one more month of that, then we would technically be considered in a recession. But now, following that news with the GDP and inflation numbers and CPI and all these different things, now the CME is showing that these essentially, I won't call them full-on smart money, but smarter money historically than retail investors are saying that they're calling for, and I think it's around 99.3% of those trades are now being put at considering that there's going to be a 75 basis point or higher. Now that's a huge shift from last week. And so my biggest speculation on this or question is, because when people are betting or placing investments on futures, they only have to put anywhere from 3 to 12% is what it says when you look at the CME website. And these are futures betting on where the price is going to go and all these sorts of things. People can basically move this market with a small, very, very small allocation of their portfolio. And essentially, I don't know if this is the case. This is a little bit of a tinfoil hat thing, but I'm wondering if the market is doing this so that when a 50 basis point hike comes in, it comes in under expectation. Now, we won't know that until this happens tomorrow. But if anything needs to happen, we need to have the inflation taken under control, regardless of what happens to the market. So what will we see from this? Well, all we can do is wait and see what happens with Jerome Powell, the Fed, and the announcement. But I know Taylor has some ideas about where this could likely affect the market. And in a little bit, when you throw it back to me, I have some things I can show on chart as well.
Yeah, T. Shim, I'm going to throw it to you. And my question for you is, what would be the consequences / what would we see happen if they do come out hawkish, saying that they're going to raise it to a 75 basis point versus what do you think would happen if we saw 50% basis point?
Excellent question. Well, if you'll hop over to my screen, you'll see this chart, and this is a Bitcoin chart, and I have created some very rough predictions. These are kind of brackets of possibility, you could say. But starting down at the bottom, this is what Kelly has been referring to. It's that 99% is what the CME futures market has been predicting, that this is actually where we'll be ending up, somewhere down here. Now, this is because the crypto market more than likely is not tracking those CME futures numbers, and so it's going to come as a shock, right? So what I've kind of placed is what is baked in, what the crypto market, what Bitcoin's price to USD has baked in is a 0.5 or 50 rate hike. So now if Jerome Powell, has run his calculations and he's thinking, oh, maybe a 25 rate hike would be better, then I think that's also not priced in, right? So that would actually bring Bitcoin up, and then a no change would bring it higher, and then a negative change, meaning we're going to bring the rate down, which is extremely unlikely, and I'm convinced that that's not going to happen. We would see it come back up and maybe even touch 50, because and you can come back to me now, just because that would be so unexpected. So I put that 75 down at 32. And this is somewhat arbitrary numbers, but I'm just showing like the direction that Bitcoin would essentially move. So, what do I want? And this is where it gets a little bit more interesting, a little bit more complicated. I think if we were to and I was talking with Tim about this before the show. I think if the Fed was to front load the hikes at the beginning and so we've got one tomorrow, and then we've got another one in June and another one in July. When are the midterms? They're in November.
The elections? Yeah. I don't know if I know the exact date right off the top of my head.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
Kelly, can you fact check that? When are the OPs muted? Because just saying, Kelly.
Oh, I was saying, I think it's in the fall.
Yeah, I think they're in the fall. I think November, we want to say. But the Fed kind of has two different things in their mind. They have the market, right? They have their targets, but then they also have the midterm elections, and ultimately that is their boss, right? So they want to, for better or for worse, they probably want to keep their boss happy, and of course, the current administration wants to keep the people happy. And so the way that I think that they could kind of craft this narrative and achieve happiness for the electorate and also the market is to go ahead and bleed it hard right now. do 2 triple rate hikes or 2 double rate hikes that are really hardcore right now, so that they can do maybe even nothing, maybe that 0% change up or down by the time we're rolling into the midterms, so that the market is floating on certainty, and which can be a good foundation for growth going into fall and into early 2023. So that's kind of my take.
Yeah.
I would not be sad with a triple rate hike today, because A, that's solving the long-term problem. B, that's potentially making the fall opportunity to where Bitcoin could start to rally if there is some kind of other fundamental story, like when Fidelity, when those 401ks start to actively incorporate Bitcoin. Once people have that option, that could be something that it would be much better, much more bullish, if in that time the Fed has facilitated a moment of optimism. Now, the triple rate hike would, as you saw in the chart that I pulled up with the predictions, it would have a bad, very, very bearish effect in the short term on not just Bitcoin, but also the equity markets more generally. And that's T-Shroom's take.
Yeah. I'm going to throw it back to Kelly so you can go and unmute him. Kelly, what are your thoughts about the possibilities of what will happen? Because I actually really loved what I just saw, getting a look at T-Shroom's chart at those different levels. But what do you think? If we have a 75 basis point, where do you think the price is going? Do you think 32 is realistic again? Because that's kind of the fact that that's the number that a lot of people are expecting. And that's right where the channel, if this channel breaks bearish and goes down, that's the 32 level we're talking about. Do you think that's actually realistic for 75? Do you think it goes even deeper, or it's not that bad? And then also, again, at this point, despite the fact that I know that this report came out saying that 99% are kind of betting on that happening, as you said, there is a potential, there is some manipulation there. I also saw reports still expecting a 50 basis point metric. And again, it seems like every single month, the Fed kind of warns about a really hawkish move and then takes the more dovish move. And in this case, it is looking like 50, weird as that sounds, is a dovish move, and 75 is hawkish. What are your thoughts about the outcomes of not only Bitcoin, but the rest of the crypto market if it goes to 75?
Well, I'll jump right into my chart here and show. And I just want to point something out. One of the reasons we're not doing a ton of in-depth TA today is, you see, this is right now on the market. And I'm going to show you a tweet I did yesterday with this exact snapshot of yesterday's price action. This is right now on the market. You see this, all exactly the price patterning, the structure, all this. Now, this is my tweet from yesterday. Nothing's changed. Everything's exactly the same as it is. The bullish thing that I'm seeing with everything that's happening, and that's very interesting here, is that we're still above the support. We're fighting this resistance on this. This is a bullish descending wedge right here, which typically about 70% of the time do break to the upside, but sometimes the bullish factors in these patterns, or having this bullish RSI divergence and MACD divergence, as you see down below, which is on today's chart as well. These things can sometimes be negated by the larger market and what's happening globally, and whether it be geopolitically or with the Fed or economically. But we have this sort of divergence between bullishness and bearishness, where we're in this bullish pattern. We're coming near the apex of this. We're coming right on support. We're right above this fib support, which is the fib basically drawn from here to the top here. This is basically the retracement. We finding support on this. If we do fall below this, I do want to show, this is a fib, basically a fib, macro fib band chart that I did in Glassnode's workbench. If we do fall below this, we still have this, this is basically the bull floor when bulls are in fully control, this sort of light brownish line. If we fall down to this gray line is essentially historically the bear control band. It doesn't mean that if you touch it, you're going to go into bearish, full bear market. But you can see right here in 2018, we came down and found support on it, and then finally broke through it in full capitulation. Now, if we come down, we can come all the way down and even dip below it for a day or two, regardless. But this is at 31.2. So I don't see any problem with us, with all this geopolitical nonsense going on. that if we do fall down, we still have support at this level.
Yeah.
And the last thing I want to show, well, of course, we're having a ton of outflows on the market as well. I saw an article earlier today that over $1.6 billion outflowed from Bitcoin in the last 24 hours, which is incredible. But is this right here? This was a 2017 cycle peak. And this is the active, this is the addresses with non-zero balances. And so what happens is when we capitulated here, people sold off dramatically, completely closing their accounts. Well, this is the 2021 peak where we had 64K and then 68, 69K. And we have a massive bullish divergence here where there's still massive amounts of new wallets coming in with balances. So the landscape is very different from 2018. I still think that we're in a mid-cycle sort of setup. And so if depending on what happens tomorrow, I still think that although there's so much bearishness with what's going on in the broader markets, I do think that a correction is necessary across the board on traditional markets as well as Bitcoin. But I think we have an incredible amount of support below us. So if we dip down, that might be the final flush out that we need. And there's a lot of liquidity down there between $30,000 and $33,000. And even all the charts are showing the fib bands, the on-chain metrics, that even dipping that low doesn't negate our bullish setup.
Yeah. You know, I want to kind of move in the conversation. I'm going to throw it back to T-Stream here in a second, but I want to kind of change what we're talking about here because there's a lot of different thoughts going on in the market right now. There's a lot of different thoughts about what this news will mean. I want you to go to my chart real quick, Smay. I'm on the DXY. This is the dollar index. We talked about this yesterday. The dollar's up, and this is in comparison to other currency out there. The dollar is up. This is so funny because if you did not know what was happening, if you were not paying attention to inflation rates, if you were not paying attention to what's happening, you would think the U.S. dollar is phenomenal right now. What's funny though is that despite the fact the U.S. dollar is crashing, is dying, is a terrible form of currency compared to other currencies in the world, it is up right now. And I think this is something that we need to probably look at. You can go off screen now. I'm going to go to T-Stream about your thoughts. There's a lot of suspicion. Let's say the 75 basis points comes out. Tech is probably going to drop. This happens a lot. When these interest rates are risen, when these basis points go high, tech industries are seen, they're going down. Stocks on tech industries are going down. Bitcoin and crypto have heavily been associated with and seen as a form of the tech world. So a lot of people suspect, it's going to go down with the tech. But at the same time, because crypto is starting to sort of, especially Bitcoin, flex its muscle and show its sign of currency. We're going to talk about that a little bit later with some remarks that Elon made about Tesla's moves with it. But could we see potentially this be one of the catalysts that people are watching fiat currency as a whole start to die? And despite the fact that these basis points will bring power back to the dollar, it's only a kicking the can down the road move with the US dollar. And people will say, you know what, even if crypto goes a little bit lower at the moment, I know long term this is the better solution. It is the fix for this weak and this soft money that we've had ever since the 70s. We need to go ahead and start making a move away from it. Do you think, T-Stream, that potentially this could become a catalyst for mass adoption of crypto rather than people leaving it?
Right. That's an excellent question. It's kind of the question that's in the back of the mind of everybody who really understands Bitcoin and its role as a hedge against inflation. It's possible. I would want to see, like, you know, how much money is on the sidelines. I would want to be certain about how much money is on the sidelines from whales. I would imagine that this isn't the moment. That's kind of my hunch, is this isn't the moment yet, but we definitely are starting to see that start to get set up. And especially if inflation continues to run off with these rate hikes, if we get a triple rate hike and then let's say another triple rate hike or a double rate hike in June, and inflation continues to run rampant and we start to see it in 10 and 12, then you have a really strong argument for that Bitcoin as a hedge against inflation. I think right now, people are just too scared. I think they're not so scared that they're ready to be courageous on a new asset, or they're ready to put, they've in the back of their mind, no, I'm going to go ahead and go into Bitcoin if the USD starts to tank and inflation starts to go crazy. So that's a good question, though.
It's one of those things that you fresh off those commercials from Matt Damon. Fortune favors the brave. It favors the bold, and this is gonna be a season. There's gonna be a lot of bold people who make risks, and there's gonna be some people, like you just said, who are gonna say, I understand the US dollar is broken, but at the moment It looks like the better of the two options. But again, we're going to talk about this a little bit later with the Elon because I have some thoughts there. But I do believe that we are potentially going to see sometime soon a little bit more bold movement happening. It's kind of like when you back, a dog can get really, really scared until it gets backed into a corner. But when that dog who was scared 10 minutes ago is backed into a corner, has nowhere else to go, they can get pretty bold and pretty ferocious quickly. Could we be seeing people being backed in that corner as well with the way fiat currency is used? But I want to go and transition. We're going to go into some super chats here in a second. But first, we actually have two sponsors today. And I first want to just start by saying we're so grateful to work at a company where we get to talk to you guys every single day, where we get to spend time researching this and bring it to life so you guys can make informed decisions. And we couldn't do any of that without our sponsors. So I just want to first thank Hedge. Hedge is one of our sponsors today. We have a second one coming a little bit later. But just in case you guys don't know what Hedge is a payroll conversion solution that allows users to automatically convert their pay, which is like W-2s, 1099s, commission, from fiat to crypto via direct deposit. It eliminates the need for the traditional exchange experience and streamlines the process from pay to crypto wallet in one seamless application. This non-intrusive design enables companies to keep their current process flow and HR services providers with no setup fees. We release custody of assets the same day as the payment, as well as the freedom to be sent to any wallet. We believe in the decentralization aspect of crypto that crypto brings and want to maintain those values by allowing individuals to use their assets as they please. That is phenomenal. And I know I had to read that, so that probably didn't feel very personal. It's just because I wanted to make sure I said all the details correctly. That is phenomenal. It's something I think that we are going to be incorporating in this business because I've said that. I know Smay has said that. The desire to be able to be paid semi in Bitcoin would be phenomenal. We just got to make sure we jump through the proper hoops. Hedge is going to be helping that. So if you are a company that wants to pay your employees in Bitcoin, this would be a great thing. If you're an employee who wants to be paid in Bitcoin, potentially you want to take Hedge and go talk to your boss about this. Potentially your business could incorporate this. Make sure there's a link in the description down below. Go sign up, find out more information because that is massive. Now, before we go into super chats, because we're going to join there here in just a second, Smay, what is our like count out right now? I haven't done a good job of making sure people are hitting the like button. What are we at right now?
Well, I'll be honest with you. It's quite pathetic.
Oh, gosh.
It's only 340 likes, and we're bringing all this content for you, waking up early. I'm quite frankly disappointed. So I would like for you guys to take a moment right now to hit the like button. And I know you think you might not have to, but no, everyone, every like button hit counts. So hit that like button for me, please. Thank you.
Yeah, we had a donation here from Siobhan Goulet. That's all I'm seeing so far. I mean, I haven't been watching chat today because I'm trying to keep my eyes on what I'm trying to do. Has there been any super chats that we missed there or anything interesting we've seen in chat, T-Shroom? Because I know you've been able to pay a little bit more attention than I have.
I do not see any super chats.
Okay, that's fine. Listen, here's the thing. We want to answer as many questions as possible. We wish we could answer all of them. As we grow, and it's phenomenal grow, we lose the ability to interact with every single chat, but we do the best we can with our moderators. Super chats is just one way you guys can get questions asked. We can answer them, but don't feel any pressure to do that. You should feel pressured. This is the only thing I should say because it's absolutely free. You should feel pressured to hit the like button. It's just a nice thing to do. Also, if you want to consider it, you can subscribe to the channel. No matter what, whether the market is up, whether the market is down, whether it's boring, whether it's exciting, whether there's absolutely nothing to talk about, we are going to still come to you guys every single day, Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. here Eastern Standard Time. So if that's something that you would love to be a part of what we're doing, join the channel by subscribing. You also can join our community team, and there's a lot of different options there with a lot of cool perks, one of which is a members-only stream that we're having this Thursday. You don't want to miss that. So if that's something you guys want, consider doing that. But if there is nothing else, and did you guys see any interesting questions? We did have one come in. Make sure. Tom Wilkes said, now you have a super chat. Thank you so much, Tom Wilkes. By the way, Tom Wilkes is one of the greatest humans I think I've ever met. Speaking of the other one, Matt C just said, now you have two. So do we have something? There's a lot of eyeballs going.
I actually do. I did see a chat.
Yeah.
It wasn't a super chat, but I don't know who it was, but you'll know once I say it. So one thing to keep in consideration is another force that determines the Fed's thinking on these rate hikes and where they're positioning the rates to be is the U.S. has a lot of debt, right? We know we have a lot of debt, multiple trillions, something like north of 30 trillion or something like that, right? So whenever we increase the interest rate, whenever the Fed increases the interest rate, that's a higher interest rate that we as a country have to pay back on our federal debt. So just keep that in mind. That doesn't mean that the Fed won't go to a great length to decrease the inflation, but the more interest rates, the higher the interest rate, the more we are paying in interest on that $1 trillion of debt. So just keep that in mind. That is a factor.
What
it
debt?
is real. Yeah, what debt?
No. Smay, before we transition to our other stories, did you have any thoughts that you wanted to talk about the Fed?
I think this debt is a bunch of propaganda, and I think that I'm kidding. I probably shouldn't. I shouldn't say that. Guys, I think that Jerome Powell is definitely sweating buckets right now, huh?
Jerome Powell needs a towel.
I think you were muted for it. Do you want to?
Yeah, hold on. I'll give you an opportunity to say that.
His little one-liner.
Jerome Powell needs a towel for all that sweat and the stress he's under.
All right. Well, hey, we're going to go ahead and transition. We're going to move on to a couple of stories we're going to talk about. This one we're going to be really brief with, but T-Shroom found it this morning. You can go ahead and go to my screen here, Smay. There was a letter written to Congress. And you have to fill in some of the details. I read the letter, but I was a little confused. But it's pretty much continuing to press the United States Congress to continue to put a lot of pressure on Bitcoin mining companies. And so I'm going to throw it to T-Shroom. Do you have any insights on this letter, what they were trying to accomplish, and the significance?
I do. If you go to my screen, Smay, it's actually Congress. So Congress people, specifically Jared Huffman, is written a letter to the EPA saying, he wants the EPA to look into how Bitcoin mining is.
People are saying there's an echo. Where's the echo coming from?
I have no idea.
How crypto mining is affecting the Clean Air Act, or if it's infringing on the Clean Air Act or the Clean Water Act, right? These are actual laws that you cannot infringe on, or you'll be heavily fined or banned or shut down. And so, this congressman is trying to press the EPA to look into that. And then people like Jack Dorsey, Michael Saylor, and also Fidelity have come out and issued their own letter to the EPA in reaction to, you'll notice this is the same language here. They've issued their same response to, this is the same language from the previous letter I just showed. And their response is, the statement above unfortunately confuses data centers with power generation facilities. Power generation facilities are not data centers. Data centers which contain miners are no different than data centers owned and operated by Amazon, Apple, Google, Meta, and Microsoft. A miner is merely industry terminology for a specified computer server operating inside a data center. So you can come back up to me.
Yeah.
Essentially what the Jack Dorseys of the world and the Michael Saylors of the world are saying, clapping back on this letter to the EPA from Congress, is, look, you guys are saying that we're polluting and creating outsized carbon emissions. It can't be true, because companies like Amazon, Google, and Microsoft, they have these giant data centers that eclipse the size of what the mining community is doing, even the high scale industrial grade miners. All it is it's the same thing. It's just a bunch of high-powered computers operating computations. And if the miners are going to be taxed, or they're going to have some kind of unfavorable outcome from the EPA, then all of these other data centers need to do the exact same thing, because it's all it's all doing the same thing. And the pollution aspect is null and void as well, because, well, it's not the miners that are polluting. It would be the upstream power providers, energy providers like Duke Energy. And, if they're not operating above board, that's their own problem. Miners and residential, us right now with these lights on, like, we're just purchasing energy from an energy provider. In our case, it's GRU. If GRU is polluting the creeks and streams and lakes, I don't want that. You don't want that. They should stop. But that's not on the miners. That's not on us here using the energy. So that's kind of where the argument is right now, as the EPA butts heads, or the Congress and interested parties butt heads with miners across the world, or specifically in the United States. And it looks like they're losing. And I don't think that the EPA, although they probably want to, they're not going to have enough support to go ahead and try to do something like banning mining or something. And that's what Michael Saylor is trying to make sure of with this letter to the EPA.
Yeah, I think so. The first of all, I'm going to say, tell me if it's got better, because it seems like, according to the comments, the only time my voice echoes is when you share my screen. So just don't share my screen anymore. we'll fix it out. We'll have some tests later. For the rest of the show, I don't think there's any reason
That
we
definitely
absolutely have to.
doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense, but according to, again, let me know if this changes, and I'm going to watch these comments, but they were saying it only echoed when my screen was being shared. Jose Manguero said, I want the echo.
Yeah, I was going to say the echoes probably sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, I think let us know in chat again if it changed, if it got better. It should be going by now. But I'm going to keep moving on, though. We're in transition because we have some other stories that we want to talk about. And this is one I talked about earlier. Again, do not share my screen. For the love of God, do not share my screen. Here we go. Tesla. Tesla describes Bitcoin as a liquid alternative to cash. This is an article headline I'm reading. This is really cool. This article details kind of Elon coming back out against Warren Buffett. And of course, those of you who watched the show yesterday, or if you just paid attention to any news that happened yesterday, Warren Buffett and his whole team has come out once again screaming from the rooftops that they hate Bitcoin, and that he even went as far as to say, if I were to have every single Bitcoin for $25, I wouldn't take it. And that's a good move there, Warren, because that would make it worthless. Either way, he's not the only person. He's not the only billionaire's opinion. Other billionaires are very much disagreeing with him, one of which is Elon Musk. And there's a quote here I want to read to you from Elon himself talking about Bitcoin and what he thought about it. In the first quarter of 2021, we invested an aggregate $1.5 billion in digital assets. The fair market value of such digital assets held of March 31st, 2022 was $1.96 billion. We believe in the long-term potential of digital assets as both an investment and also as a liquid alternative to cash. As with any investment and the consistent I'm going to make sure I'm reading this right. Consistent with how we manage fiat-based cash and cash equivalent accounts, we may increase or decrease our holdings of a digital asset at any time based on the needs of the business and our view of the market and environmental conditions. This is super cool. Again, he's talking against Warren Buffett saying, hey, Warren, you just don't know what you're talking about. It is good. And then he goes as far as to say, hey, I want to talk about Tesla, because obviously we invested heavily in this. We only sell when we need to prove liquidity. We know before, that was a huge article last year about when we actually saw them liquidate some crypto, and he made sure to come out and say, guys, this was not a lack of faith in Bitcoin. This was hey, we're proving its liquidity. We are a company that still has to produce things, and the same way we'll liquidate our savings account or our fiat holdings to pay for things. We're treating Bitcoin the exact same, and this is something I've talked about before on the show. I know one of the episodes when we were talking with Nick Dye on Between Two Coins, which is one of our Saturday videos. Make sure you go watch those. But I talked about this, the concept of until we see Bitcoin being used in liquid fashion, while we see people liquidating their Bitcoin to use for groceries and to use for bills, and then we see companies using Bitcoin to pay for things, we need to see that kind of stuff happening to even bring further adoption and use case to Bitcoin. So to me, this is massively bullish. But I know, Kelly, you're the one who found this. I want to hear what your thoughts are about all of this. What do you think is the significance of this, or do you have a different take than I had altogether?
Well, first things first. I mean, I think, it's in that article, and I know you can't share your screen, but I think I can. This is the article that you're just reading from. And this is that paragraph that you read, but the right below it, Ricardo Salinas, who is, I think, one of the largest billionaires out of Mexico, his quote is perfect. It says, "It's sad to see him rambling on about a subject he clearly does not understand. That's why the future always belongs to the young and not the old." And this is very clear. It's interesting to watch Warren Buffett, sort of the old guard, the ex richest man in the world for years, speak about this topic, which him and Charlie Munger, but everything that the points that they bring up, they don't understand the utility and the value of the network as it stands. They both invest in banks. I know they had a large investment in Visa and other traditional payment rails. And if they don't understand, even if they don't look at Bitcoin as a store of value, if they don't understand, even with what like Jack Mallers is doing and his big announcement of Bitcoin 2022, they basically completely not dismembered, but displaced and disrupted the entire payment rail market, from SWIFT to ACH to Visa and MasterCard, American Express, Discover, with the utility of Bitcoin as a payment rail, despite any of the store of value sort of context. So if he doesn't see that, I'd actually argue that he does see that, and his investment is just too far wrapped up in traditional means, and his following, just like Jebb said the other day, his following is too wrapped up in traditional minded sort of context of markets, that he can't go against it because it would displace it would displace where all his money is invested and very likely water down the amount of interest in all of where all the other investments are. And then when you have that much money, you can't just move $50 billion out of one asset sector into another without creating massive economic trouble, worldwide, as well as devaluing it's one of the reasons why over-the-counter OTC markets on Bitcoin is such a something a lot of people need to understand, because they're not seeing massive institutional buys, but it's because it's not happening on exchange, on chain. It's happening between parties that it's not being listed. And when you have that much money wrapped into traditional assets, you can't just pull out 50 or 60 or 70 billion dollars and then start transitioning into Bitcoin, because the second you start making that move, you're going to devalue the asset before you're able to get it all out, and you'd end up losing a lot of money. So I think it's more a story about him protecting where his asset base is than the fact that he doesn't believe in Bitcoin.
Yeah. And I think, again, the significance of this story, I think that people really should be walking away with is, we've talked about before, Elon Musk, love him or hate him, he is a trendsetter. People follow him, people listen to him. I actually love this move he's making and what he's coming out and saying, talking about liquidity. I fully understand and I fully grasp and appreciate the concept of do not sell your Bitcoin. But just so you guys know, if we're serious about the future of Bitcoin, at some point we got to prove its use case. Even gold had a use case in terms of it was minted into the money, it was used to back money. Bitcoin, as great a store of value as it is, if everybody is too afraid to actually use it for what it was made to do, it will not be adopted at the same rate. Doesn't mean it can't be valuable. It will still be valuable. But my point is, if we want to take it to the next level, if we want to see some serious flow come into it, we got to see its use case be there. And again, the things that we see happening from Strike, the things we see coming from different states and cities throughout the United States and other countries. We have countries making it legal tender. We have states saying that you can now pay your taxes and buy certain goods in it. We're seeing Strike make it easy for you to use in a grocery store to pay your bills. This is the type of stuff that is going to cause us to go to that next level, bring in more people, because as much as we've grown in the last couple of years, I still think it's less than 3% of the world uses crypto. And there are projections that if we do things correctly in the next 10 years or 15 years, I can't remember which, it could be as high as 80%. But we got to see use case come into play. Third story we're going to talk about here, and then we're going to transition to super chats. This one I want to hear both T-Shroom and Kelly's views on because it's a little fun here. Algorand, so again, we're not sharing my screen. Can't share my screen. But Algorand becomes the first U.S. blockchain sponsor of the FIFA World Cup. So pause right there. Why do I like this? First, well, you have the article? Okay, sweet. So this is significant to me for two different reasons. First of all, it's adoption. It's more crypto adoption, like I just talked about here a second ago. The more adoption we have and the more use cases and the more that we get this into the world, the more it'll forward or bring the future that we want. The second thing is I really love this for sports. Again, I've talked about this before. I am kind of the outlier on this channel. And I know in this sport in particular, real football, Americans call it soccer, but in football, T-Shroom is a fan, but it is one of the most watched events, especially the World Cup. It is one of the most watched tournaments in the entire world, and it only happens once every 4 years. In fact, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that at least as of late, it has gained more views than even the Olympics. So, T-Shroom, I want to throw it to you. What do you think, as a soccer fan, football fan, yourself, what do you think the significance of this is? And then what do you think its significance to the crypto space as a whole is?
Well, I mean, I don't know how Algo got that bid when you have movers like Crypto.com and Binance out there that are spending so much. But I mean, there really, in my mind, isn't a bigger event every 4 years. It's funny that Tim mentioned the Olympics. I think FIFA World Cup has eclipsed the Olympics like several times over.
Yeah, as of late, it was something like the last 15 or 20 years or whatever.
Right,
it has more views.
No, these soccer players now, football players, if you want to call them that, they are the biggest. Other than like the Mayweathers of the world, the Floyd Mayweathers and like boxers, European soccer players are the second most highest paid category, and they're also like crazy good. In my opinion, you have to be the most athletic to play soccer. And so all eyes will be on the FIFA World Cup. It's taking place in Qatar, so it's kind of have this cool exotic appeal. I really wanted to go. I don't know if I'm going to be going. Not Qatar. I'm sorry, Dubai. Or is it Qatar?
It's in Qatar. No, it's in Qatar. Yeah,
it's in Qatar.
You're right.
You were right.
Yeah.
Don't second guess yourself.
Just strum the guitar when you're in Qatar. I have to remember that. But yeah, so I mean, but I can't overstate enough. This is going to be extremely big. Everybody in the world watches soccer. The United States is actually has the lowest rates of viewership of soccer because we have other slightly less awesome sports like football and basketball. But in my opinion. But yeah, but Americans are increasing every year in their viewership of soccer and football. But its implications to the crypto world, I mean, it's going to get more eyes. But if you watch European football, there's a lot of crypto over there. It's we have it kind of sprinkled in with the 76ers and other teams that have some kind of sponsorships. But when you're watching European football, especially Premier League and Bundesliga and Serie A, it's everywhere. Like they're super into crypto, and even so in like the Turkish and the Eastern European leagues as well. So they're no stranger to it. So will it have some kind of bigger effect? Will Algorand have some kind of like bump in their price? Mm-hmm. Maybe. I didn't see a bump in the price of that one NASDAQ ETF, and it was all over the conference, the Bitcoin conference. But that that obviously is not as big as FIFA.
What is Algorand? It's been a minute since I looked in Algorand. What is Algorand's use case? What is the crypto coin? What is the coin used for?
It's a good question, Kelly. I mean, I could speak to my knowledge, but I have a feeling that Kelly knows a little more.
So Algorand is interesting because it's the guy that created. I mean, it was a team, but the brainchild behind Algorand was developed by what's the person that's kind of thought of as the father of cryptology, and he's MIT. I don't know if he still is, but he at least was an MIT professor on cryptology and crypto just in general. And he developed it, and it's thought of as it's slated, or at least considered to be potentially something that's going to be sort of government. Highly likely for government adoption because of how secure their network is and how fast and how cheap it is. But when looking at it, I mean, even from that announcement, there was a bit of price action on it. We had this massive wick here on this announcement. You see, we have this downward channel that we've broken out of, and we're just now testing that, sort of flipping that as resistance to support. So we'll see if it holds there. And I think Algorand is a beautiful, beautiful project. And the other thing that sort of paired with that story is this other story that came out yesterday or either this morning or a few days ago, that they're working on a Bitcoin bridge between Algorand and Bitcoin, which is interesting to boot. They're doing a lot of development. It's a highly secure network. It's very fast. It's very cheap. So, I mean, it's definitely a great project to have on your radar.
It's in my moon bag.
Yeah,
I've had it for a while.
I think that's really cool because I some people out there probably watching saying, I don't care about soccer, I don't care about sports, I don't care. Which is, I get you. This is cool not because it's just cool for sports, although I think it is cool for sports. So those of you who are fans of athletics, great. The cool thing is the community in the sports world, especially football, soccer, whatever you want to call it. Because while it's not necessarily number one in the United States, it is number one over pretty much the rest of the world. People are serious about watching it. And if they're getting exposure and they're seeing crypto thrown in their face time after time after time after time, Bitcoin is not an American tool. Bitcoin is a world tool. And as we see the adoption come from other places and different communities, we're going to see crypto as a whole go up. So even if you don't love sports, you should love this move. It's going to be big for crypto. But we're going to transition here in just a minute. We're going to do some super chats here in a second. We do have a couple there. We're also going to be doing our price predictions for Friday. But first, I told you guys there were two sponsors for today. So the second one is Link2. And I'm going to read you again a little bit about what Link2 is, another really cool company. But Link2 enables early investors, C-suite executives, employees, and any private equity holder with the ability to sell their vested private shares on the secondary market. We operate on a cashless exercise basis, where Link2 is the one upfront with the capital. Equity holders do not need to come out of pocket in order to exercise their stock's portions. Now, they want to clarify as well, they are not brokers. Link2 charges no broker fees, there's no management fees, there's no carried interest. We accept payments in cryptocurrency via our trusted partner, Uphold. There's a lot more to it. I think the other cool thing is Link2 has an organized a loyalty rewards program, Link2 Bucks. When a Link2 member refers a friend receives $250 in Link2 Bucks to spend towards their first investment. As soon as the friend makes their first investment, the member receives $750 in Link2, or $750 in Link2 Bucks. This is another cool project. Again, if you own a small business, or if you are a CEO or anything, and you want to invest in small companies, we were talking about this around the table. There are a lot of companies that are phenomenal. They just have not gone public yet. And you have to have things like this happen to actually go ahead and invest in these smaller private companies that could explode. This is actually really cool. Again, just like Hedge, I talked about Hedge earlier. This is one that I'm seriously looking at as I'm one of the leaders of this company. Is this something that we can do as a company to invest and grow our assets and expand? So if you are a business owner out there, you definitely want to look into this. The other thing we found out is that while a private individual can't just get on here and invest, what you can do is if you have an accredited investor, so if you had a financial advisor, an investor for you, a broker, they can go, you can recommend this, they can go on and invest for you in these small businesses. So you definitely want to look into this. Again, there's a link in the description down below. Go check them out. Super cool way to make some money, especially like right now. You know, crypto, you're probably, if you're just sitting in Bitcoin, you're not making a lot of extra money. If you're trading the right way, and there's different ways you can learn about that, hint, Club DeFi. But, you know, if you're doing that, you can make some money. But a lot of people are just sitting and holding, your money's not going anywhere. This is a way that you can potentially invest in some smaller business and make some money, which would be phenomenal. But let's go ahead and transition into some super chats, because we did have a couple more that popped up here. Let's see. Oh, Cheyenne. I don't know. Yeah. Talk about Polkadot. Smay, real quick, give me 5 seconds on Polkadot.
5 seconds on Polkadot.
Wow, you came in under time.
I did.
That was good.
5 seconds on Polkadot. It's a good project.
Good, sweet. All right, Blaze Sonk 1 said, now you have 3. So that's other people getting super chats. Thank you so much, guys, for donating. Trolling Fud said, you guys rock. Definitely the best show on the interwebs to listen to for TA and crypto news as a whole. Keep up the great work. Prayers towards you and your family, Tim. Thank you so much, man. Again, Taylor, just so you guys know, update on Taylor. She's doing a lot better. She's in good spirits as a whole. I mean, it's going to come in waves as everything progresses, but she's doing a lot better. Every day she gets a little better, even physically. So thank you so much. Tom Wilkes said, undisputable fact, soccer is not the most athletic sport. Everyone knows it is curling. So, you know. We gotta,
for anybody who doesn't know what curling is, I've got a picture of this guy hyper-focused on curling. Hopefully this will jog your memory.
That's intense.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Look at.
Why is it all the one guy? Did you look up a specific player?
This is my favorite guy.
Oh.
This, yeah, Nicholas Eden. I totally keep up with him on Twitter.
All right.
Yeah.
Back to you, Tim.
Got 2 more here. Keith R said, with TA, why do you not look at TA for long-term investors out further than the last few days or months? For example, I'm looking at the last year, and it seems to be lining up around the $28,000 level. So Keith R, I mean, so we definitely from time to time look at long-term. The thing about long-term is it takes a lot of movement to change it. So we definitely probably add, you know, more than once, but at least once a month, we do go out and look at the weekly chart, and we look at the monthly chart, and we examine what's happening there. Jebb, I know, definitely has gone, and he's talking about long-term trends and long-term support lines and resistance lines. So it's just day to day, we're helping transition people to know what's new. And again, when you're looking at the larger time frames, is not as big of differences as it changes. But I hear you, Keith R. We will make sure to continue to update you guys on long-term, because I know there's some of you guys out there that are traders. There's some of you out there that are DCAers. There's some of you that are looking for the perfect buy spot. We want to help all of you do the best we can to see it. But even more importantly, we want to teach you how to think, not what to think, but how to think, so you can make all the decisions for yourself. So if Keith, if you're looking at $28,000 level, that's great, man. Go put a buy order in, wait for it. If you think that's coming based off of your research, I think that's phenomenal. Absolutely keep up that great work, Keith. Siobhan Goulet also want to say, what is Ripple? Does it have a future for long term? You know, so I've done a little bit digging into this, but I'm going to let somebody who probably has done more digging than me answer that question briefly, because we do have a transition. But Kelly, can you tell us a little bit about what Ripple is as a company? Obviously, it's the company that backs XRP, or is it vice versa? Is XRP back? I don't know. But what is Ripple specifically?
Oh yeah, I mean it's essentially a payment network. And in all honesty, whether you're into decentralization or not, or you're just in this to make money, the thing that Ripple really has going for it is that they are very, very, very tied in with banks. And so if you want to hedge yourself within centralization and decentralization, it's definitely a good play. it's long term. I think they will have a bright future. I think the SEC, based on everything that we've seen so far, the SEC is sort of trying to dig themselves out of a hole based on they're trying to hide documents that they said specifically are basically negating their entire argument. So it's similar to, it's different, but it's similar to XLM and some other sort of fast crypto payment networks that are cheap, except they have very tight partnerships with a lot of the world majority of banks and stuff like that. But I do also want to clarify one of the things I said about Algo. I didn't say that Algo has a bridge to Bitcoin. I said that they're building a bridge to Bitcoin. Some people were calling me a liar in the chat for some reason because they didn't see the article that I posted on screen that completely points this out. So it's building a bridge. They don't currently have a bridge.
Gotcha. All right. Well, we're going to transition. I told you guys we're going to do our price prediction for Friday, but there's a couple things that are different. First of all, Jebb's not here, so Jebb is not participating this week, but T-Shroom is sitting in his seat, so we'll have a T-Shroom vote today. But we talked about this before the screen because we're going to update the rules a little bit, and this happens from time to time. The new rules, instead of us deciding beforehand what we want to do, we're going to let the last week winner, so it was Smay, we're going to let I guess it was 2 weeks ago because we didn't do one last week, I guess. Yeah. So 2 weeks ago, Smay won. He's going to get to predict first. Now, here's the rule. He predicts first, and that puts him at a slight disadvantage, but advantage. He can get exactly what he wants. When the next person votes, they cannot be within, we decided 500 or 1,000.
I thought we said 1,000, but
are we saying it? Did we say 1,000?
Yeah,
we'll do 1,000. We'll do 1,000, especially this week because there's a lot that can happen here based off what we hear coming out of the Fed, the Fed announcement. But so the rule is going to be you cannot be within 1,000. Also, we're no longer doing anything less than the 100. So we're not going to see tens and zeros and pennies being put there. But Smay, I will put it this way. So I think Smay won and Kelly was after him. So Kelly can go second, then I'll go third, and then T-Shroom bats up.
Night.
All right, so I go first.
You go first, Smay.
I'm gonna say. My prediction for Friday at 9:30 is $31,000.
Wow, he's going super bearish. All right. Yep. All right. Well, Kelly,
you're up.
You can't stay anywhere within 1,000 of that, but what's your thoughts?
Well, I'm writing it down for you. This is what I got.
40,500. Oh, we're going up.
40,500. Yeah, you gotta transition to this one. Yeah, I'm sitting here. I don't know what I want to say. Okay, well, I know where I can't be.
Kelly, is that because you think people are going to start seeing Bitcoin as a hedge against inflation? Is that the play?
I think that you know what? I kind of predict. I'm kind of gamifying it. I kind of felt like you guys were all going to go low, so I'm going high. I'm riding on not looking at all the other news and context. I'm looking specifically at the charts, and I'm seeing us at support. I'm seeing us just about fighting with resistance on the descending wedge. We have bullish divergence. We have more wallets coming in. We have whales buying. We have more money coming off exchange. So ignoring the Fed nonsense, I'm just looking specifically at the charts, and I could very well lose and I could very well win. So this is just gamifying it.
There are weeks where it's never easy to predict what's going to exactly look like on Friday, but there are weeks it's a little easier. This is a week that it could go up to 42 if they, as T-Shroom pointed out, if they were to come and say, well, actually, we're just going to do 25 base points. It's like, okay, well, that's actually extremely dovish. So it could go up, but I'm going to give my prediction, and then we'll get T-Shrooms, and we'll wrap it up. My prediction for Friday, I'm going to say 35,000. 35,000. I do think the news is going to not be what we want to have happen. And I think 32,000 eventually, I think, is happening. Whether it happens on Friday or not, I don't know if I agree with Smay's anticipation that quickly, but who knows, But let's stick with 35,000 for now. What is your last vote, T-Shroom, to wrap us out?
36,500.
Whoa!
I really thought about saying 36 itself, like just 36,000. So I like your prediction too. Let us know in chat and in comments who you like. I like 35,000, but if I had to choose a second one, I like T-Shroom's 36.5. Yeah. But again, if something disastrous happens, Smay's got the bottom locked up. And Kelly, if we got some bullish news, Kelly, I think it's an easy win for you. So,
well, can I make one comment about it as well? It's that
real quick.
I definitely I see the potentially of it going up, but despite it, me seeing it potentially going up, I do think without question that we're going to see a downside swing first. It's probably going to be very scary, but the amount of liquidity that's below us, I think has the potential of slingshotting us to the upside. But if I were just placing a trade on this in terms of how I was trading, I wouldn't trade like just putting it along right now, betting for it to go up to 40,500. I would be trading very safely and with very tight stop losses. And I'm still waiting for that downswing to happen to get that in order for this to happen. I don't think it's just going to break up from here either way. So I think the downside is definitely more likely, but we're also playing a game here.
You got to take that risk. You got that. If there's bullish news, you got that safe W on you. Well, guys, that is all we have for today's show. I want to just kind of wrap this up. Again, we discussed the Fed news. This is something that's really important. And what we're discussing, let us know in the comments if you would love to see this. And again, I say comments. You can put it in chat, but we're probably not going to see it in chat. So after the video is over, go comment below. Would you guys like to see us do a live stream covering Powell's announcement tomorrow around 2:30 Eastern Standard Time, right? That's what we are at. So let us know if that's something you guys would love to see. It's something we're considering. There's a lot of things that can happen. Bitcoin could crash to 30. Bitcoin could rise. We got to find out tomorrow afternoon. But no matter what happens, here's what you need to walk away with. Have your plan. Those who fail to plan will plan to fail. If you're just sitting here saying, I'm going to wait for something to happen, you do not have a good plan. If the price goes up, what are you going to do? Are you going to sit and hold tight because that was your plan the whole time? If the price is going to go down, what are your levels you want to buy in at? What are your thoughts about where you think that you can gain some more value? Either way, Bitcoin is going up and to the right long term. So do not lose hope. Do not FUD out. Do not let the manipulators take your Bitcoin or your crypto away from you because they make you believe that it's dying. Continue to hold strong. Get those diamond hands. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and more than likely, Jebb will be back. I don't think there's any reason why he wouldn't, but if not, it'll be me. So love you guys. See you tomorrow. Peace.
Oh, I got a real good feeling. Got a real good feeling.